Hello and welcome to the Big Bang Theory podcast. My name's John. I'm here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Hello.
Dan, what a night! Oh, what a night! In the word of Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons.
Pancake night.
Pancake night, but it wasn't flat as a pancake up Rodney Parade.
No.
I mean, it was really more of a Rodney quagmire, wasn't it?
I mean, I wouldn't fancy, a majorette's chances parading over that.
It gave
rolled ankles all over the shop.
Yeah,
and those
right.
heels.
Their baton had get stuck in the
Do
turf.
they wear heels, majorettes? I don't really know. Can't remember.
Can't remember from your time in the majorette.
No, it's been a while since I've seen any.
Yeah.
I think it's quite it's a lost art, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be.
Spinning.
Yeah. Bring it back.
Why not?
But don't bring it back up Rodney Parade.
This is a discussion for another time, but what they should bring back is the Exeter Carnival with all those floats. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, nice.
That was so good.
Chucking your coins at people.
Magical nights in the 80s and 90s.
Good times. But no more. Now the kind of magical nights we can expect are a 1-1 absolute batten down the hatches fest up Newport with Exeter City, who finished the game, in fact played more than half of the game with 9 players.
Well, it was a good 70 minutes pretty much, I think.
Flipping it.
Do you know what, I think that was one of the most entertaining games of the season, if not the most entertaining game of the season.
I think you're probably right.
I was hooked. I mean, I didn't look away once,
No, it was edge of the quagmire stuff, wasn't it? I was clinging on to my bit of turf. Yeah, so if you didn't see it, listener, you missed a treat. City, after about 8-9 minutes, went down to 10 men after Alex Hartridge clipped a man who was through on goal. Red card.
Yep, I think he reaches across, and it's Nicky Maynard, isn't he, as we know, the old Wine Gums.
Yeah.
Wine Gums Nicky. He... Hartridge reaches across him and you can't even touch him there. Basically, he gets a run on him.
And he does it twice, of course. It's kind of 2 nibbles, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a grab at the shoulder, or it's a touch of the shoulder, and then he clips a clip of the heels. Basically, Hartridge is on his... Maynard's in behind, and he's always playing catch up. Even though Nicky Maynard, how old's he now? 40 odd?
I don't know. Been
I don't
around
know
a
if
while.
he should be getting a run on you, but he was. I think he goes down a little bit softly, but it's a red.
It's a red,
I don't think you can really even argue it. I mean,
Matt Taylor was
annoyed,
arguing,
wasn't he?
Hey?
Taylor was annoyed, wasn't he?
He was annoyed with what came before, so there was a foul previous.
Right.
Before it got to that point, but I think he acknowledged that given that the foul wasn't given,
several
it's a
times
red.
before we'll get onto this, there's a couple of things the ref chose to overlook or didn't see. This he did see, and last man, he's through on goal. It's always going to be a red. Hartridge is a young player, he's going to make mistakes like that. They all are, it's the young players. I think there's 10 academy players in a match day squad.
Amazing.
And that's, just he hasn't got the experience yet to know whatever happens, don't do that.
So what was mistake number 1 was getting caught with him goal side. Mistake number 2 was probably even getting anywhere near him.
You can't touch him in that situation,
it's
can
better to concede, isn't it, at that point?
It really is. Especially considering how bad Newport went on to be.
Yeah.
But so we're 1-0 down. When's that early?
No,
we're not 1-0 down.
We're 10 down to 10 men.
We're a player down.
That was 9 minutes, I believe.
9 minutes in.
Yep. Bad. That's bad.
It is bad. But then something really good happens. We actually don't look like we're down to 10 minutes. I thought straight away Seymour's getting hooked because that's just the way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's he just got getting his starts, and it's like, whoop, gotta go. And I felt sorry for him.
Yes, but it wasn't immediate, was it?
It wasn't. No, we carried on, and then actually a really good little bit of play by Jake Taylor.
Yep.
And a long ball over the top that ended up with him, and he kind of gets battered as he plays this lovely little ball to Bowman, who turns and whacks it into the bottom corner. Great finish.
Yeah, it really
Very
was.
satisfying to watch.
One of Bowman's best.
Yeah. He's got that in his back pocket, hasn't he, every now and then?
He does. That was 22 minutes, so we're 1-0 up.
Yeah.
We've already played
wow,
15 minutes with...
maybe we can, just park the bus, as they say, and see it out,
Absolutely.
with 10 men.
Absolutely. And then just on half-time, it was, Bowman leads with an elbow, Another unnecessary. I mean, Bowman's known for unnecessary jumping or ill-timed jumping, isn't he?
He is, and he arrived with that reputation as an elbower, and we didn't see too much of it to begin with. I mean, what he is very clumsy, and we really know terrible at timing his jumps.
Yep.
I don't think it's malicious or a deliberate elbow, because if it was, then he's, stupider than he looks. But if it was, so he just leads. It's one of the high balls up to the channel, and he runs across, and he just sort of. You can see it on the camera's not the best angle. If you watch the replay, where obviously it's filmed from the wrong side of the pitch.
Yeah.
The linesman's got the view of it, but if you slow it down, you can see this arm is flying towards this bloke first.
Yeah.
They have both got their eyes on the ball. It's kind of not the point, because your arm's up like that, and he just catches the guy in the face. I think he's got to go. Is what he's got to go, hasn't he?
Matt
as
Taylor,
much as maybe you wouldn't see them, you've seen them maybe not given, considering the first one was a tad harsh, or a little bit kind of like
Yeah. So Matt Taylor agreed that it was a red. Off he goes. So then we're thinking, 9 players against 11 players.
Yeah. Well, somehow we make it to half time.
Well, at this, Newport are kind of what are they? They're a well-known foe. It's always considered a difficult game. Why it's considered a difficult game? I guess normally there's certain things they do quite well. Obviously, they've beaten quite a lot of higher league opposition in the last 3 or 4 years. The pitch is obviously a notorious nightmare, which it was. But at this point, actually, they'd shown very little, hadn't they?
They had, and
Yeah.
they continued to, actually. As much as they did have pressure, especially that last, the end of the first half. I don't think we actually had to defend any real attempts on our goal, did we?
No. I can't think of a single one.
Well, at least nothing significant.
Nothing
anyway,
significant, no. But obviously, 9 men's quite a prospect for a whole half.
So we get to half time. I'm tempted. I was really tempted to think, might just switch it off.
Were you?
Obviously, I was never actually going to, but it crossed my mind that would be a nice thing to do.
There's Champions League football on.
I'm so glad I didn't, because it was actually, like I said, it was really entertaining and kind of an incredible feat. Or not incredible exactly, but impressive feat.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad I didn't do that, but I will admit that it crossed my mind. I just want to mention someone from the first half quickly while it's still we're in that kind of ballpark, is that they subbed him off pretty early, I think after the first red card, but Newport have got a player called Long King.
Yes, they have.
Double-barreled. And I don't think you should double-barrel a name where the first one is an adjective.
No?
Because, I just think, who is this Long King? And I'm just picturing a really tall, lanky, long royal.
David Long King. Wouldn't you change it to Lounge King? I'd change the spelling.
Yeah, either change it to Lounge King, which is adding one letter, because I think it has got an E on it.
Yeah.
Or, the other thing, I don't understand why people do this. Like, I get the idea behind double-barreled names. I'm generally behind it, but those people who know me will know that names and unnecessarily kind of silly names is a real kind of bugbear of mine. And just don't be called that. Long King. Like, what are the parents doing to go well, I'm all for the concept of double-barrel name, I agree with. However, if it creates some sort of mockable or stupid sounding name, don't do it. Then you're just doing the best thing you can do for your child there. And I think calling him Long King isn't doing the best for him. Well,
in an unrelated topic, how do you feel about Priestley Farquharson?
That's fine. It doesn't mean anything. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Long King is a thing that you could, I just don't know. I think it's to do with having the adjective first and then the noun. Just being called King, you by definition you can't get a better name than that.
King David.
David King.
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah.
Very 90s sounding, but still great name. Anyway, that's my opinion on and advice.
Thank you for that. That's really helpful. I'll tell you why that's helpful. So both those subs, Newport made subs at 34 minutes, 2 subs at 34 minutes. They were obviously already thinking, we're not making enough of this here. That's with 10 men.
Well, and also perhaps they'd started with maybe a bit of a kind of conservative kind of lineup that they no longer needed.
Yeah. Seymour came off before half-time as well for Josh Key. So then we go into the second half, don't we? And I'm thinking, well, just got to take it 5 minutes at a time. You know, if we get to half an hour left, maybe we'll cling on for something. Well, we did better than that, of course. 5 minutes went past, 10, 15, still 1-0 to City.
We were working. You could just see it. You could see how hard they're all working. They were all keeping the shape, all playing, and the team togetherness to play like that well was the most impressive thing. We can talk about all the individual good performances there were, and standing out off the top of my head, but it could be any of them: Sweeney, Jake Taylor, Matt J. But it was the collective effort that was the impressive thing, and that's what got us ultimately the point, but almost got us a win.
Almost got us a win, yeah.
And we weathered everything they had to throw at us, and what that really amounted to was kind of 2 real chances, and not really. And that's what I mean by Newport being poor. It's like that's what we limited. We limited them to 2, but I think it was 2 times when I was like, oh, they're going to score.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was it. The rest of the time, they're just having these, like, you know, when they did manage to have a shot, it's just like 5 yards, 10 yards wide, over the bar. Like, and then Jocko Anderson made, I think, it's kind of like a double save. I think he gets there's the one we were thinking of, and then I think he tips a second chance over the bar.
But yeah, we looked very solid. But I mean, Newport were poor, but we organised very well. There were weird points, weren't there, where like Jake Caprice was the furthest person forward. Jake Taylor.
Caprice actually another one played well.
I think they all played well. Those 9 and Bowman, until his stupid sending off, played really, really well.
Yeah.
Those 9 plus the subs, I mean. And what they really, obviously it's easier to do when you're 1-0 up, is they were just very, very disciplined in terms of, we're not going to attack here. We're not going to attack. We'll drop back into our position. And frustratingly, or maybe it'll be useful for the second half of the season, the rest of the season, that's how you defend. Sometimes you think, okay, well, we won't attack here.
I know, it really is. It really is how you defend. But in a way, it's maybe easier when the only thing you've got to do is defend.
Yes, of course.
It's a bit like when we were forward, when we were sort of managed to get the ball to the attackers and down that end of the pitch. I was kind of like, you know, get back. You know, like, run quick.
I really thought the only chance we got here of scoring is a penalty, because we weren't getting anywhere near. I mean, we didn't even get anywhere near the penalty box.
Late on, once Joel Randall was on, I think there was one. He didn't end up getting the shot off, and I think if he'd gone, he was trying to get closer to the goal, and I think if he'd had an effort from range, he'd had a chance. It would have taken a good shot.
Yeah.
You know, something special, but he could have done. But I'm not holding that against him.
No.
So we made it all the way to the end, 88th minute, and then we just sort of, I can't really remember what happened.
Sparks was out-jumped, wasn't he?
I think, but watching it back, yes, it's Sparks' man, and he does lose him for a second, but I mean, he's got, if he's not on that bloke, there's another guy completely unmarked behind him as well, because we're 2 players less than them. Yes. So, again, and also he played full 90 minutes there, you know, knackered. And again, he's not a fullback, as we said many times. I think, given the circumstances and everything that's happened, a draw was, you know, excellent.
Yeah. Sweeney tweeted afterwards that it had been a hard shift. I think we can firmly agree with that. I thought they all had worked incredibly hard, and of course the missing man.
We made a few changes towards the end, didn't we? Actually,
made a few changes. So Harry
Nigel came on, and he looked like the tiredest man on the pitch.
He'd
be on 5 minutes.
Yeah, he only came on at 85. Harry Height came on at 86. Joel Randall had 20 minutes, but yeah, I would have kept Taylor on, to be honest. I think Nigel.
Well, I think what you got there with Taylor is like he's the captain, and I feel like he really embodies the team spirit, doesn't he? And he's the kind of focal point for that. And as knackered as I'm sure he was, I think possibly for the mentality, it'd have been better to just keep him. He'd been there the whole time, you know, and then to just stick someone else in, like just stick Nigel in at the last minute. He's not experienced, you know. He's not seen what they've seen. You weren't there, man. You know.
Do you think it's like when you get shot in World War One and you're like, I just want to stay. I don't care. I'll just manage without my arm.
Yeah. There's plenty. I think there's lots of war analogies that are on the tip of my tongue, but I would just leave them. You know.
I mean, literally, they were playing in the trenches, weren't they?
It did look like like that no man's land or whatever. Yeah.
God. So City come home with a point. Matt Taylor was full of praise for them. I think everyone was full of praise for them. I think we were all gutted they didn't hang on for the 3.
Yeah,
but,
and like everyone says, that says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you're gutted that you didn't win a game with 70 minutes of 9 against 11.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's a state of a pitch, innit? What is going on there? I know they're still doing it as well. The rugby and football. Why?
No, it's basically.
I know we said this last week, but like.
Well, what's mad
Why?
is other clubs have to make all... I mean, Harrogate, for example, have had to make all these changes to their stadium, which, by the way, has been completely fruitless because there's no one there, so that they can come into the EFL and their stadiums of the standard. Although I understand you've got to have certain safety standards, it's not like, in the National League, they let you sit on a rusty nail, and now you're in the Football League, it's got to be like you sat on a 3-piece suite. And with supporters coming in, you just sell tickets, right? So if your ground only takes 1,500, it only takes 1,500 you're selling tickets. But the pitch, that's literally the only thing that actually matters. And, that's the thing that a standard has to allow. Like, it's not like the FA Cup can go to a National League team and they're like, well, you can't play here because the stand isn't, whatever, shiny enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, why isn't the standard of the pitch? And I get, like, sometimes problems happen, you know.
Well, they're sharing with the rugby team.
Yes.
Now, those are logistics that I don't know why that's happening, but it does happen sometimes, I suppose, and, you know...
Well, Old Trafford share with the rugby team. So it happens.
Do they? What, Man United?
Yeah. Yeah, so they play rugby league matches there.
Right, okay, well, that's ridiculous. But, like, that's pitches and... It's partly artificial and stuff as well, isn't it?
Well, I guess they do amazing things with it, but...
And I know they haven't got the money to do that. They obviously haven't got the money to get their own pitch or their own ground and whatever. But we're in the middle of when no one can go.
Yeah.
Why don't you just do it somewhere else?
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like a broken record. This is the last time we'll talk about, Newport.
Hopefully for a while.
For a while, and and hopefully the last time we talk about postponements, because there shouldn't really be any from now unless it rains a lot.
Yeah.
Which it might well happen, but. There shouldn't be any more frozen pitches and there shouldn't be any more COVID cancellations. Touch wood. But, I don't know. Play it somewhere else.
I mean, completely insane. There we are. So that was the game.
We didn't do much time wasting. Let's mention that quickly.
Well,
we did do some time wasting, actually. When the ball went out, we were slow to retrieve it, those things like that.
Jake Taylor walked off slowly, or that might have been to do with the fact he'd...
And I think at one point, Jack Sparks... went down for a minute with cramp. Now, cramp, I think, in the circumstances, is probably understandable, but we've seen it time and time again. I don't want to sound like, we're better than everyone else. But how many other teams? I think probably every other team that we've had come to James Park and be in the lead, all of them fall on the floor, injured every 10 minutes. You can always sit your watch by it.
Yeah.
It'll be every 5 minutes until the game's over. We didn't do it.
No. And we know the rule about head injuries. But also, I thought Anderson, like he's a young... by the way, none of this is a criticism. It's just a kind of observation. We knew his goal kicks weren't, A, because no one was up there, and B, because he's not that good at kicking. Like, if you've got the best kicker in the country, Edison or someone, you put it exactly in the far corner, don't you? And at least it takes up another 10 seconds to come back.
Yeah.
Anderson couldn't manage that. Fine. We know that's a flaw in his game. He's got many strengths. But he was fetching the ball really quickly.
Well, they were fetching it for him.
And he was, like I've seen other keepers. We've all seen it in front of the big bank where they like accidentally kick it away when they're trying to take.
Well,
the kick.
I think the ref was having none of it, and I think that's what it was.
But there were no yellow cards
because he was being. No, there wasn't. I think he was really telling them that they had to not do that because he's obviously created this situation for himself, the ref, and then he sort of doubled down on it, being like, I'm not having it. I'm just going to bollock them every time they look like they're going to take it. Anyway, I think there's one thing about the you hear that guy just yelling. I don't know if it was one of their. It's just someone at the ground is obviously right next to the Radio Devon commentary, and he just won't shut up. And it really started annoying me, not because he was doing that necessarily, but because of everyone who was going when football without crowds started. I went, oh, isn't it going to be interesting to hear what all the managers have got to say? Oh, it'd be really interesting.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
I was interested.
Oh,
in
isn't it
Klopp.
interesting to hear what they're going to say? No, it's not going to be interesting. It's going to be some bloke shouting, "Come on, get it in the box!" You know, like you believe in yourself. Like the most banal, annoying, just basically honed in on that when you can hear one annoying person stood behind you.
Yeah.
But that's all you can hear.
Yeah.
So no, I think that experiment is,
I agree. I think we're all looking forward
concluded.
to it. Yeah. Anyway, that was that. I mean, the point was useful, of course. The point was even more useful in terms of hopefully that will spur them on. I mean, I think we're in a good. That's 3 games unbeaten now. That's 2 wins and a draw. We thought Newport away was going to be difficult. It was difficult in different ways than we expected. But they've got to feel pleased with themselves. Of course, one of the key features of that game was we didn't have Robbie Wilmot.
Of course,
not allowed to play
because
of that's his parent club, which is a stupid phrase.
I bet he wishes they weren't his parents now.
Well, all the Newport supporters were like, this is the exact kind of game when we wish we still had Wilmot on the bench, and you could see why. I mean, if from what we've seen from a couple of games, he's good crossing and good.
I just kept thinking to myself while that game was on, I'm so glad I don't have to support Newport, just for all the reasons that there are.
Yeah, pretty grim.
Not having Robbie Wilmot included.
So he'll be back. So anyway, we've got 2 suspensions to face. We'll talk about all that stuff in a second. Welcome back. As alluded to a minute ago, of course, Bowman and Hartridge will both get automatic 3-match suspensions, I believe. Is that wrong?
Hartridge will just get 1, won't he?
1 match suspension.
Yeah.
Because it was just a
red card, wasn't it? It's not dangerous, it's not violent.
But Bowman
conduct.
gets 3 for violent conduct.
He'll have 3, yeah.
Okay, so Hartridge, I mean...
Unless we try and appeal it, which
Matt Taylor admitted...
Did he say we were going to?
No, he said he thought it was a fair red card. Yeah. So, Hartridge, I mean, he's been playing, but we've got other options at the back.
He'd sort of been the one when we do the 3 at the three at the back, hadn't he? But we hadn't been doing that much. So the one way to do that is just not play 3 at the back. But and also we've got Sam Stubbs. Apparently, once his knees drained, he's going to be back in there.
Yeesh. Yes. I don't think he's...
Shades of Jonathan Fort.
Oh, yeah, crumbs. Poor him. I forgot about him. Poor old Jono. So that means Hartridge, will miss the next game. Bowman, however, 3 games, which is not insignificant given that he's been basically undroppable. There's been hardly any games without him. Our system revolves around him.
There's been points of the season where I'd have been actually quite pleased that there's an enforced dropping of Bowman, not dropping, but that Bowman couldn't play 3 games in a row. But he's been playing so well recently, and not just scoring, but and being a threat, but his hold-up play has been so good. And I think that's a shame because I don't know what happens now. Matt Taylor said, well, now Ben Seymour gets his chance. Because it's been twice now where Seymour's been subbed off early. The 2 times he started, both of them he's had to have been subbed. Once because of the red card, and once because we had to completely change his shape. And he was sacrificed basically. But now, so Taylor's saying, "Oh, Seymour will get his chance then." But what? Seymour's going to play instead of Bowman because that means that's a big shift. Then that's a change in, if not change in formation, then definitely a change in a kind of tactic of what we actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Joel Randall's back.
Randall, yeah.
Matt J obviously is there. Robbie Wilmot can play again. Randall Williams is out for some time still. It's a fracture in his...
Yeah,
in his leg, I think.
I guess, yeah.
So that could be still a while.
Yeah, so you think, okay, Wilmot and Randall and then Seymour?
Seymour and then Jay behind him.
What, with no one so that means there's literally 0 point playing a single long high ball?
Yeah.
None. Because all those guys are They're all sub 6 foot. I'm not sure about Wilmot, but he's not massive, is he?
No.
And he wouldn't be the target man, even
No.
if he is tall.
So does he play 4-4-2 and play a different way of playing than we've played all season with Jay and
You wouldn't want to play
Seymour?
4-4-2 if you got no that either, would you?
Well, I wouldn't think so.
You'd want to go one up front, or or a front three. Maybe it'd be that. I don't know. But it's going to be. It'll have to be a.
But it's definitely going to be a different approach.
It might be a similar, formation, but it might have to be a different approach. Interesting.
I mean,
we'll see. I think, to be honest, we played some of our best stuff without having to hoof the ball up.
Yeah.
Just a matter of getting Collins on the ball and
I mean, it could be
and
really
Matt
interesting.
Jay on the ball, but not all teams let you play like that, do they? And that's where Bowman obviously is useful. When you can't pass it through teams, you've got that outlet in Bowman. So I don't know. Fisher's the other option. Is it like for like, and Fisher goes in?
I mean, Fisher's basically been nowhere near the first team.
No, he hasn't. Yeah, I don't think he started a game.
No.
Yeah,
And hardly been coming off the bench either. And then a Jose, as we've been finding out, gets curiouser. Like you said a few weeks ago, won't train on AstroTurf. The suggestion is not fit enough to just come into the team, so he's doing gym work. I mean, it's a complete nonsense.
I don't believe any of this, by the way.
No, I don't either. I don't know what it's all about. But what it does make me think is whatever Taylor thinks about a Jose, he's made these decisions, either himself or otherwise. Bowman's contract runs out in the summer. Given that there's been lots of interest from higher and bigger clubs, he'll leave. Which means that Taylor would rather Ben Seymour gets the games or the time on the pitch so that he's in some kind of position to be some kind of, maybe not starting striker, but more use than he's been this year for goals. And a Jose is just out of the picture. He just does not want a Jose anywhere near that team.
No, yeah, and whatever, we'll never find out the reason for that, probably, but it's not because of some AstroTurf pitch. And if it wasn't for the old having to train on the AstroTurf, Jose be straight in there. That's clearly not the case, is it?
No.
The thing is, I don't know when he gets paid. I think it's quite a lot. We've talked about this so many times, and I think probably just like, he's not playing, is he?
No.
And he's done.
It's gone. While I wish we weren't wasting money on someone, or rather, I wish that the money was being used towards some goals. There's no point putting someone in just because I've spent the money.
Well, we clearly, a transfer window is literally just closed.
Yes.
So obviously, there was no way no one wanted him,
No.
or we couldn't get rid of him, whatever. And we're stuck in this situation now, aren't we? Where we've got a player who we're paying. How much exactly we don't know, but we are paying.
Yeah.
Who, for whatever reason, won't. Or we don't want him, or Taylor doesn't want him to play for us. So,
he obviously thinks that Seymour getting the time is worth more to him than a Jose playing.
yeah, that definitely, and that makes sense. You know, that does make sense.
So essentially it's 3 months, isn't it? It's 3 months till the end of the year, to the end of the season. A Jose will be gone then. Seymour gets 3 months of game time. In fact, if he starts the next 3 games and gets a goal, you'd think, well, yeah, fair enough.
Seymour.
Seymour.
I really want him to score.
Yeah.
And do well, and not just because I want, Exeter to do well and our academy graduates especially, but just to shut up all these donuts on the internet who every time he starts or plays or anything posts these gifs of like eye rolls and stuff. And I don't know, it's like Stanley from the American Office doing an eye roll. It's like I just really wanted to score just to shut them up. Like, what are you?
Yeah. So we'll see.
Alienating our core fan base, probably, but whatever. I don't care.
We'll see what happens. We'll definitely see how it lines up. You're right. Taylor hinted that Seymour will start, but we can't play the same way and expect anything to work without Bowman there.
Well, there's no one that can do that same hold-up play that he does, is there?
No.
Then again, if he's just going to elbow the defenders in the face, maybe we're better off not clipping those balls up towards the striker anyway.
So I guess what's in our favour is the next 2 games are winnable. So like we said, we've won the last... Well, before Newport, we've won the last 2.
I think even winnable is an understatement.
Yes.
We've got Grimsby, who are minus 26 goals and rock bottom of the league. Minus 26?
I mean, it's remarkable.
That's barely... Fathomable. But no, Holloway's gone, hasn't he?
Holloway's gone, fell out with the
Grandpa,
owners.
he was on EFL on Quest the other day.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
He's also writing a column for 442, I see. So he's obviously firmly retired.
What is it about how to concede?
I mean, who knows?
Conceding 101.
Don't take that class. I mean, they're just having a dreadful, dreadful season. They'll be lucky to stay up. They haven't played in a while, which obviously is in our favour as well. I'm just looking back to see when it even was that they played. I think it might have been
Well, you say that, but I think we've actually lost against Carlisle and then played for like about 2 months.
Oh, interestingly, the last time they played against Newport, who played a half with only 10 men. Yeah, it's just really been a terrible season for them. So we would hope that we'll pick up a win there at home. It's home, isn't it, this Saturday?
It's at home, yeah.
Yeah, and then we go to Colchester away. Now, Colchester, in
1
my
o'clock
mind...
kick-off for all those who have maybe had forgotten. You're thinking you're going to be taking a trip to the garden centre. One of the few things you're allowed to do.
Buying some spring flowering bulbs.
Yeah,
That's probably too late for that. I don't know anything about gardening.
No, I think you're bang on.
Am I?
With your timing there, your spring flowering bulbs. Yeah, just buying some new potting soil for as we approach repotting season.
Okay, very good. That's for a different podcast as well.
We mentioned that podcast last week.
Oh yeah, we did. 1 o'clock. I mean, I find it a bit annoying that it's 1 o'clock, but whatever.
Yeah, me too. I don't know why, because I've got nothing on at all, but it's still annoying.
And then we go to Colchester on Tuesday. Flipping another long drive in it anyway. Now, in my mind, Colchester are kind of formidable. Now, the truth is they're also having not a very good season. And
I think we're remembering
the
last
playoffs.
Season and the season before. Yeah.
So we would hope that, I mean, if we don't get beaten in those 2 games and pick up a win and another draw, that's a very good run of 5. The league is very, very tight. So can I bore you with the details?
Yeah, please do.
Cambridge are top. They've played 29, which is 2 more than anyone else in the playoffs, and they're on 49 points. Everyone else has played 27 in the top 7. Forest Green are on 48. Cheltenham in 3rd on 47. Salford, Newport and Tranmere sit 3rd, 4th and 5th. 4th, 5th and 6th, all on 44 points. And then we're in 7th on 43 points. And then behind us, it's Morecambe, same points as us, but they've played a game more than we have. Then it's Carlisle in 9th, who've got 3 games in hand over everyone else, except Cambridge, who they've got 5 games in hand over.
Yeah.
But they lost last night.
Yeah.
So it's not. We don't have to assume that Carlisle are just going to win.
But that's about what is that? So is that 6 points between 1st and 9th?
Yes.
Or something like that. Is that
7
right?
7 points between 1st and 9th.
7 points between 1st and 9th with 19 games remaining.
19 or so games remaining for the majority. Yeah. So it's very, very close. I mean,
that's what I was saying before about. I don't think there's a clear.
No.
Not yet, anyway. And like in previous seasons, there's been a clear favourite, and maybe there probably is a favourite. But I don't think there's anyone who's like out and out, is there?
No. Salford would fancy themselves.
Yeah, but
they've spent the money, but they haven't. I don't think they've got any more chance. Newport on last night's showing are not automatic contenders, I wouldn't say. I think Forest Green and Cheltenham have been the teams that we've played that have looked the best.
Yeah.
And then I think we look as good as them. I really do. I know we got beaten.
I mean, on our day, yeah. I think I think we've got more, maybe some more kind of like. We've got that kind of thing of being like kind of like a weird kind of disastrous kind of event. I don't know, like just a one-off kind of like. What I'm trying to say, I think, is we're a little bit less consistent perhaps than those 2 teams, but.
I mean, I think we always think they're all of them are only a bad decision away from a disaster, to be honest.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So that just says how tight it is,
Indeed. So that's what's coming up. Remember, you can get in touch with us, all your opinions as usual about all the stuff. We'd love to hear from you. We've had some contact from Pippa, who's updated us on Gary Wilmot.
Yeah, well, I already said about this on the last podcast.
Oh, I missed it. So Gary Wilmot's not a dancer.
No, he's just a TV presenter or something, right?
And a singer.
And a singer, right.
Well, I'd contradict that piece of information because Pippa obviously didn't see him dance up the wing against Bradford City. Yeah, thank you for the update. Remember, you can get in touch with us in all the normal ways. On email, bigbankpod@gmail.com. On Twitter, @bigbankpod. And on Facebook, we're the Big Bank Theory Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your corrections. We'd love to hear your... What?
We'll take the corrections. I don't know if I'd love to hear them.
All right, we'll take the corrections. I love being corrected. There's other things that you can correct us on. But I'd particularly like to know what your feeling is on double-barreled surnames. What are your favourite double-barreled surnames?
I want to put out there that I'm a fan of double-barreled surnames, both in kind of just for generally, I think they're cool, and also I like the idea behind them. You know,
Yeah.
I'm all about that kind of equality, and I think if it can improve a name, like the way a name sounds, definitely do it. And if you're thinking, well, this is an equal partnership, I don't want to take your name, we don't want to give this kid your name and not mine, then go for it. I think it's a good idea. But if it creates some sort of amusing like outcome, leave it. It's the same when people have got like when their name is like, I don't know, Brian Pratt. Don't just change your name.
Apologies to Brian Pratt, who's listening at the moment.
Like, I don't know, like, you know, why are you just carrying on with having an insult for a surname? It's so easy to change your name. I think maybe people don't know that. It really is easy to change your name.
What would you change your name to?
Well, I've got my name's fine. I don't need to.
All right.
But if I did have to, then I would.
All right. Where do you stand on? I'm just looking through the double-barreled surnames of League Two. Morecambe have got Knight Percival.
Yeah, sounds great. That's a good kind of syllable. The syllables work there. I mean, it sounds good.
Yeah,
like
all right.
Percival.
There's your old mate Long King. Up Southend, they've got Nathaniel George. That's his double-barreled surname. So good they named him twice.
What's his first name?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
What about, this is also Southend, Hackett Fairchild?
Hackett Fairchild, yeah, Stephen Hackett Fairchild. Yeah, it's great. And that one sounds a little bit like a solicitor's firm, but like...
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'd want to know what you think about double-barreled surnames. Those are just me casting my mind around for a few. I can't remember. There must be loads more.
The always one I think was, back when I was a kid, there was only one, and that was Chris Bart Williams. And again, great name.
It was a good name.
Great name.
Chris Bart Williams. Tranmere, I think,
Solid
have got
player.
Lloyd McGoldrick. That's another good one. Okay, well, look, get in touch. Twitter in particular is good for that kind of absolute nonsense. Thanks for listening. This has been the Big Bang Theory podcast. We'll be back next week, hopefully with another few points in the bag, hopefully a little bit further up the table. I'd love to get autos down. I've got to say it. I'm not saying we're going to. I'm not saying it's nailed on. I think playoffs look very likely. I would love to get autos.
Yeah.
I think it's within our capabilities.
I got a feeling in my bones that we're not quite there, but I'd love to be proved wrong.
Who do you think's going to get it then?
I think Cheltenham, Forest Green,
Yeah.
and then one other, and I'm not convinced. It could be us, but I'm not convinced it will be. You never know, but it's just the past that's kind of like...
Well, indeed. I tell you what I'd really hate, having to watch Wembley on the telly again.
I think I might rather that than going.
Maybe so.
No, I have to be honest, after all this, I quite happy to go to Wembley. You know, like...
Maybe it happened middle of May. Probably not. Well, anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. My name's John. I've been here with my friend and colleague, Dan.
Cheers.
See you soon.